Thank you for these. Hey, remember when Twitter switched everything from stars to hearts and Skynet didn't become self-aware? Keep complaining about dumb shit. Let's begin. First up, Republican presidential candidate Ben Carson recently met with oddball MMA fighter / former UFC champion Vitor Belfort to get quote-unquote debate prep. And to make it all worse, Carson got debate prep from a fighter who ducked an interview 2 days before that because he didn't want to address his own controversial testosterone use. Somehow we've gone from FDR and Churchill meeting to this. It's the heartwarming story of American decline. Tiger Woods is in the news. He hasn't done anything too bad. In fact, it was actually his caddy that came out and said, working for Tiger Woods made him feel like a slave. Now, mind you, this slave made over $8 million in the time he was with Tiger Woods. Folks, for $8 million, Tiger Woods could personally stick his golf clubs up my ass, and I would army crawl them from hole to hole. I wouldn't be a slave, I'd be Mr. Slave. The Mets recently lost the World Series, which proves there is a God and he loves us. But what was interesting was actually when the Royals went up 7-2 in the 12th, a bunch of Mets fans left early. Folks, let me just say, leaving a sports game early shows me A, you're rational, and B, you have a job to get to the next morning. And of course, what does every jack-off, idiot, hardcore fan say? Only fair weather fans leave early. Why are you such a f***ing sadist? Is this how you treat your dog too? Only fair weather fans of their dogs use euthanasia? Greg Hardy's been in the news a lot these days for being not just a terrible person in his personal life, but also being a terrible teammate, shoving a special teams coach, doing all manner of horrible things. And everyone and their brother says, Jerry Jones and the Cowboys need to come down on Greg Hardy. And I'm thinking to myself, are you out of your f***ing mind? I can think of no organization that deserves to have some kind of cancer ruin everything more than the Dallas Cowboys. Think about it. If he's this bad to his coaches and teammates, imagine how he treats his girlfriends. This guy is so batshit, the only question I have is, whose VP is he going to be, Trump or Carson's? Oh, shocker of the century. Another Cowboys player is making headlines, and not because they're playing football. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant, it turns out, may or may not own, and I'm not making this up, a pet monkey. Number one, this is animal abuse. Number two, am I not right that if you see a pro athlete buying exotic animals, that's the number one sign they're gonna be broke as when their career is over? If there's any justice in this world, someone will train that monkey to smear its on Greg Hardy's door handles every time it has to poop. And last but not least, Grantland. Now we all know, very recently, the beloved website, the Bill Simmons Project, it went under. ESPN pulled the plug. Now look, it's sad when people lose their jobs. I feel bad for them. And obviously it was a very good site. I liked it, many people did. In that sense, there's a lot to lose here. But to the readers of Grantland, especially those who say, how could ESPN take away such a great site? I say, are you out of your mind? You should be glad. You stole from ESPN the last 5 years. You had ESPN foot the bill for something they would never pay for. You already won. It shouldn't be called Grantland. It should be called Taken for Granted. Look, here's the truth. Grantland didn't make any money. It didn't try to. That was never its purpose. Its purpose was to be a niche journalistic aim. It was one man's vanity project. One I happen to enjoy, but that's the truth. Look at NPR. To the average person, NPR is boring as f***. You think the average idiot stumbling out of the Cheesecake Factory gives a shit about the migratory patterns of butterflies in the Renaissance era? No! But to NPR's listeners, it's an invaluable service. One, in fact, that they are constantly asked to pay for. Grantland's problem is not that ESPN pulled the plug. Grantland's problem is that they never developed a culture of begging from their affluent readers from the start. Folks, great journalism has to have integrity, but dignity? That's optional. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Begging sucks, almost quite literally. The only two jobs that involve getting on your knees are begging and unspeakable sexual acts. Things of value in this life cost money. You don't get to ship it off to somebody else. If you're out there using your ad blocker or Google Incognito to get around something, you're part of the problem. You should pay for the journalism you actually enjoy, at least some of it, and I don't just mean your cable bill. And some are saying, well, look at The Intercept, they had a billionaire help them out. Look, that is not always going to be the case. And even if you get a billionaire, the Washington Post was bought by Jeff Bezos. You know what the Washington Post does all the time? Beg for your subscription money. And here's the most important thing you can realize. Do not expect a niche product, even a quality one, to be supported by the current of consumer preferences. Y'all, Honey Boo Boo is gonna go back on TV. Nickelback has had a gazillion hits, and more people have read 50 Shades of Grey than have read Dostoevsky, and you have the audacity to think that's the market that's gonna safeguard quality? As a general rule, if you want something good in this life, one way or the other, someone's gotta pay for it. And if we're talking about a niche product, a specialized product, that someone is you. But don't you worry your little hearts. If you want some cheap crap, you're in luck. 'Cause this show, this one's always free, baby.